Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this Thursday evening?
James, it is Thursday. We play Saturday. It's gonna be a time. You're wearing the Penn State Nittany Lions shirt. Love it. Love to see it. Penn State plays their playoff game tonight. Their third one now, so they've won 2 rounds out of 4 potential rounds moving forward. So they're in the final 4. So that's exciting for them. James, how are you doing today?
Doing well, man. One more work day and we're off to the weekend. Steelers game's almost here. I think there's some things to be excited about it, but we're going to talk about all that.
We're going to talk about all of it. Absolutely. So real quick, before we go too far, James, you have some numbers for Steelers by the Lake we want to discuss real quick.
Yeah, we always tell you guys about the monthly numbers, but it's that time of year. We're going to talk about last year, the entire 2024 in review, our top states and top countries and downloads. We're going to start with the top countries. Of course, the United States came in at number 1. Canada, with a very strong performance last year, came in at number 2. Number 3, China. Number 4, Russia. And number 5, the United Kingdom. So that's your top 5 on the countries from last year. Now the states. Big shocker. Pennsylvania came in at number 1.
Yep, big shock.
Number 2 is absolutely on fire these days. That's California.
That's not okay.
We love you guys. Hope you're all safe. Any of you that may be listening out there. Number 3, Virginia. Number 4, Ohio. And then Missouri coming in at number 5.
Interesting. Very interesting. Thank you to everyone who downloads, listens, watches, however you do it. We do appreciate that very, very much. And then just really cool to see like a map lit up. We can see where the downloads come in and stuff, and seeing the last year and how, different parts of the globe are lit up. It's really, really cool. So we love that. We appreciate you guys downloading, listening, watching, supporting any way that you do. James, before we talk about this playoff game, we had a buddy on the last show. Jay came on the show and said he was going to send us his predictions or his tiers for the playoffs. And he did that. So we're going to share the playoff teams. We're not going to share what he thought about the other teams that aren't in the playoffs because it doesn't really matter at this point. But maybe we'll do a breakdown at the end of the year, like our way too early 2025, 2026 season predictions. But he had a section, could win the Super Bowl. And there's 4 teams that he believes could win the Super Bowl, which I'm interested about this. I would have swapped 2 teams. But we'll see how this goes. And this is in order. So number 1, he believes the Kansas City Chiefs are the front runners to win the Super Bowl. Makes sense. Number 2, the Philadelphia Eagles. So also makes sense. Talented team. Number 3, the Los Angeles Rams. Interesting pick. I know that's the one I'm saying. Hang on. And then number 4, the Buffalo Bills. Now, the only unfortunate part about this is he's not here to defend himself or explain, unfortunately. But we are at least going to share this because he shared it with us. And then he could win a playoff game. And this is also in order. So I'm interested here. Number 1, he has the Pittsburgh Steelers. I mean, it's the Ravens. We'll talk about it. We'll get there. Number 2, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 3, the LA Charger, or excuse me, Los Angeles Chargers. Houston Texans, number 4 on that list. Detroit Lions, and then Baltimore Ravens, Minnesota Vikings, Washington Commanders, Green Bay Packers, and Denver Broncos. So it looks like he has Steelers, Chargers winning AFC technically, and then Bucks Lions winning NFC. If that is how those teams match up for me. I don't believe the Bucks play the Lions because that wouldn't work. But that's how he has it listed, and very interesting. I would have swapped out LA with the Lions, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But we'll see how it goes. We will see how it goes. But appreciate you, Jay, for sharing that with us. Absolutely wanted to share that on the show. Now we want to talk Steelers news. So real quick, Mason McCormick will have a cast on, correct? Put on his left hand. No,
he's not having one put on.
Not having a cast on.
Yeah, he's decided to not have one put on. He thinks he might be able to go. So we're going to see how that plays out for him. I guess with enough padding, he might be able to block. Who knows? It's his left hand. He's the right guard.
Interesting how that's going to play out. Very
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see how that all goes. Other offensive lineman news: Steelers did open the 21-day window on offensive tackle Calvin Anderson. That's important just for depth. I mean, at this point, if we happen to get by the Ravens this week, having a potential guy that could come back and be on the roster for depth, we're starting to see some potential injuries rise, is going to be very, very important moving forward.
And honestly, low key, as bad as Dan Moore's playing, it might not be the worst idea in the world to let him play a little bit of right tackle and scoot Broderick Jones over to the left. Because honestly, Dan Moore's just been atrocious and costing us games.
Yeah. So no, I'm right there with you. I think at this point, the problem I'm having is we wait until these moments to try anything new. And it's like, we should have been doing this. I realize he's played worse as the season has progressed, but we should have done this 2 weeks ago, man. We should have done something a little different 2 weeks ago.
I feel like they try to give these guys a chance to work their way back out of funks. Because, like, for example, the first 9 weeks of the season, Dan Moore only allowed 2 sacks. In the last 8 weeks, he allowed 10. Like, that's not even the same player you're talking about at that point. It sounds like 2 completely different players. So just very, very frustrating, complete drop-off in ability to block, both pass blocking and run blocking. And they might have no choice but to pull him in the middle of a game.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be really bad if that does happen. Javon Hargrave, former Pittsburgh Steelers, is also being released by the 49ers. Now, there's a lot of people talking about a potential reunion between Javon Hargrave and Pittsburgh Steelers, and quite frankly, I'm not for it. And I know that that's going to shock you, James, because we do need some talent on that defensive line. Pittsburgh has I almost want to say a reputation of bringing in older or aging defensive linemen and them not playing up to par from how they played the year or 2 years before. I'm worried Javon Hargrave would fall right in line with that. He's not the same talent he was on the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, there's a reason 49ers are releasing him.
Because of the knee injury.
Well, yeah. And so, but quite frankly, like, why would they release him if they thought there was a chance that he could come back? Like, I feel like they have to know something.
Because it's what the Niners do. They typically don't pay defensive linemen. They draft them, and then after their 4-year deal is up, they just draft a new guy, and they don't ever pay him. So it was weird for them to pay Javon Hargrave, but he's coming off of a season-ending injury that he had early on in the season. And here's my opinion, and here's where I differ from you on this, Cody, is that if Pittsburgh were to bring him back, the very next day or maybe even the very next minute, you terminate the contract of Larry Ogunjobi.
Yep.
You probably can bring him in for the same money as what you're paying Larry Ogunjobi, and I think he would be an incredible upgrade over him. And not that they're playing the same position, because you'd kick Keanu Benton out to the Larry Ogunjobi defensive end, put Javon Hargrave right back in the middle where he was previously. But I think he's a massive upgrade in pass rushing ability and a massive upgrade in the run stopping capability. And all he has to do is get 4 sacks in a season, and it's drastically better than Larry Ogunjobi's done as a Steeler.
Well, in his last 3 full years, the 2 previous ones being with Philadelphia, and then the last full year he played, so not this year, the year before, with San Francisco, in order, 7.5 sacks, 11 sacks, and 7 sacks. This year he had 1 sack in just under 3 games played. So there's no knowing what would have happened with those numbers or how he would have performed, and I'm not one to speculate. But he is over 30. He's going to be 32 by the time the next season starts. So it's one of those things where I understand where you're coming from. My fear is we get a guy that's supposed to be a fill-in, and we're just hobbling our way through the season again. With, I mean, even at the end of the year like this, we get to a point where we're a really good chance to win the division. Honestly, we could have won out and won the division easy, and then we hobble our way and back our way into a playoff position, which is just unfortunate, just frustrating to see where we had success. I don't want to just add a transitional piece, which is what I feel like he would be. I feel 1 or 2 years max, and that last year he might only get 2 or 3 sacks. Like you said, 4 is still good. I'm just nervous. I'm nervous about falling into the same things that we've done in the past that haven't worked. So,
and I'm not necessarily saying that 4 is good. I'm saying 4 would be an upgrade.
I agree, and I understand.
That's the thing, and that's such an incredibly low bar. And with what you're talking about, his most recent 3 years, let's say you even just get 7, which is the 2 worst years out of the last 3.
Yep.
7 sacks. That's the best Larry Ogunjobi's ever done in a season. It's a big difference in skill level. He did it twice, once with the Bengals and then once with the Browns as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like we're talking a talent level where the floor of Javon Hargrave is the same as the ceiling of Larry Ogunjobi, and the ceiling of Larry Ogunjobi was like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So that's my thing, is if you could bring him in for the same money, I know he's not a long-term solution, but at this point in time, we already know that Larry Ogunjobi is like, at best, a backup player that we're starting because we have no one better.
Yeah.
And we're paying him like $9 million, bro.
I know. He's a lot of money. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I hope they weigh all options. I hope it's not just, hey, he's available, let's go get him. I hope that they really take some time to consider the options, look into the draft, don't rush to sign a guy.
Yeah, but you got to sign people before the draft.
I know. I'm saying look into the draft, like look and see.
They absolutely need to take somebody in the first couple rounds in the draft to restock that defensive line room.
Yeah,
but I think he could buy you time to develop somebody instead of just throwing them into the fire.
First 3 rounds in any order better be offensive line, defensive line, and safety. Period. I would even argue cornerback, but
yeah, I'd put corner over safety. I'm all right with Deshaun Elliott.
I am too, but I don't know how much longer. That's a tough role to play and last in the NFL. So being that heavy hitter guy. Speaking of a tough role to last, Scotty Miller is gone. Scotty Miller was released by the team recently, so he's gone. He's out. I'm sure there's a plan to hopefully get Roman Wilson going if we make it past this week. We'll get into the injury report here in a second. There's a reason why it's not this week. But hopefully that was the reason in the move, because if we win, he's back and we don't need Scotty. If we don't win, it doesn't matter because everyone's going to be on the team. So with that being said, we're going to go over the injuries for this Steelers-Ravens game coming up on Saturday. They did do their final practice today since the game is on Saturday. James, real quick, I'll go over the Pittsburgh Steelers injury. It's a little bit longer than the Baltimore Ravens one. So Cameron Hayward and Chris Boswell were out for parts of the week with an illness. Cameron Hayward actually didn't participate the first 2 days and then fully participated today. And Chris Boswell didn't participate the past 2 days. Not too worried about either one of them, other than the fact that Cam just seems kind of down and slow in general the past few days or a few games. Not consistently. Let me clear. I know we talked about how he had good games and stuff. I feel like after the games, when I watch him coming off the field, it's just, I feel like he's hurting, man. I watched him walk into the locker room last week. He was walking in front of Pat Freiermuth, and he just looked like he was slugging it, man.
Yeah, he was sick as hell.
Well, I mean, true, but I'm hoping that this improves with the fact that he was fully participating in practice today. Hopefully he's no longer sick, dealing with any injuries or anything like that. Roman Wilson dealing with a hamstring injury, fully participated all week, but is listed as out. Cole Holcomb, knee injury, fully participated all week, still listed as out. Same thing with Logan Lee and the calf injury, fully participated all week, still listed out. Those 3 guys were the ones that were brought back from physically unable to perform list or the IR. Respectfully, they're all still listed as out. And then you have Mason McCormick with the hand injury listed as questionable. Calvin Anderson with that groin injury listed as questionable. Dante Jackson fully participated all week with his back injury and is more than likely going to play. And then Isaac Siamalu was resting, didn't participate on Tuesday, but fully participated the past 2 days. He'll go. And then also Michael Pruitt with a knee injury, limited on Tuesday, didn't practice on Wednesday, full participant today. We expect him to go if they need him to go. So interesting list. Nothing overly concerning other than the Mason McCormick thing in my mind. Everything else should be good to go.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the corresponding move will be with Scotty Miller, right? He just got released about 2 hours ago. We're recording at about 6:42 right now, Thursday evening. So we haven't heard a corresponding move yet, but there's going to be one. They wouldn't have cut him just to cut him. He's not the kind of guy that's out there getting in trouble with the law right before a game. So it's not poor behavior off the field or anything. This is to make room for someone else that they wanted on the roster. Speculation is that this might be Calvin Anderson, that they're trying to get him up in case Mason McCormick is unable to go with that hand. That would still allow them to dress 45 players and only have 5 on the inactive instead of having 7 or 8, I think, on the inactive. You have to have 8 offensive linemen. There's only 8 offensive linemen on the roster right now. So that's the speculation, is that this move is going to be to bring Calvin Anderson back. I'd love to see it be to bring Roman Wilson back and start getting him involved in the offense, but only time will tell. Over to the Baltimore Ravens side of things, as Cody indicated, it's a lot shorter list. As far as their game status individuals, wide receiver Zay Flowers, who just got voted into a Pro Bowl, is out. He's got a knee injury, just happened in the last game. He's been unable to practice all week long. He will not play in the game. That is a huge advantage for Pittsburgh. Big weapon for them on the offensive side of things, and that's going to free Joey Porter Jr. up to go against the next man down on the roster, so that's great. Deontay Hardy, who's a wide receiver / return specialist, has a knee injury and is questionable in his designation for the game. He has been he was a full participant on Thursday, but did not participate on Wednesday. Kyle Hamilton's got a knee, but he was full. And then Justice Hill has a concussion and illness, but was full. Looks like he's cleared protocol, so he should be good to go. So really the only injuries are Zay Flowers being out, and then Deontay Hardy, questionable, may miss the game as well.
Yep. Yeah, still 2 guys that are very interested to be without. I think the big thing, Zay Flowers, as much as he's a threat, he's had some big drops in games against us. I mean, balls have bounced right off his face. So I don't want to immediately be like, oh, that's a plus. If it was Mark Andrews, I'd be like, okay, that's a plus. Yeah. But Zay Flowers is neither here nor there for me, in all honesty. I feel like he has fumbled under pressure a little bit against us and had some really big drops and really big moments. So I'm almost sad to see him out. But still, like you said, will free up Joey Porter Jr. To go up against some other people. Mm-hmm. Let's take a peek over at the depth chart.
Before we get into that, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors here.
Yes, absolutely.
It's good time for that. The Steelers by the Lake podcast is sponsored in part by Edinburgh Hotel Bar at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh, with a full menu including daily lunch and dinner specials and a family-friendly, smoke-free environment. Details are available at 814-734-5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.tripod.com. Do I have that right, Cody?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Edinburgh Hotel Bar, where you had me at hotel.
Yep, Edinburgh Hotel Bar. I won't be there this week for the game because we can't watch it there. But that is fine. That's how that works sometimes, unfortunately. So it's still a great place to go, visit them, hang out. It's a great, great time. Now we're going to bounce over, talk about the Ravens depth chart here. Offensive side of the ball, Zay Flowers and Rashad Bateman, the 2 starting wide receivers. Again, Zay Flowers is out. Nelson Aguilar or Tylen Wilson will take that spot, with Steven Sims and Devontae Walker backing them up. Big offensive line here: Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCarry, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falele, and Roger Rosengarten are the guys going to be taking the lead in that offensive line room. Again, a very, very talented offensive line. Tight end Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely have burned us more times than I would like to admit. Derrick Henry and Justice Hill, the running backs, are a phenomenal 2-headed tandem. Very threatening running back team there. Fullback Patrick Ricard is even a threat. Probably one of the top 2 fullbacks in the league. And then, of course, the man of the hour fighting for an MVP, possibly Lamar Jackson, the quarterback. Got to get him under control early, and got to make sure that him and Derrick Henry don't go off on us for 200 yards rushing. That's going to be a big, big concern for me moving forward. James, who scares you most on that offensive side of the ball?
It's only 2 guys, Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. They really took advantage of us last game, especially Derrick Henry. Absolutely ran all over us. Now, big difference going into this game. Last game, we did not have Larry Ogunjobi. We did not have Deshaun Elliott, and we did not have Joey Porter Jr. That's three key starters on our defense, two of which are key contributors against the run. So we'll see how much of a difference that makes in this game. Hopefully a large one in the favor of the Steelers.
Yep.
On the defensive side of things, we've got Nnamdi Matabwik, Travis Jones, and Broderick Washington as the three-headed monster up front starting. Michael Pierce plays a little bit for them. You might have seen his highlight from last week getting an interception at the end of the game. Looked like he's going about 450 pounds these days. He's absolutely enormous. So you're not going to move him. Don't try to run through him. Go around him if he's on the field. The edge rushers, they've got Odafe Owe, who gave Dan Moore nothing but problems last time around, so we got to do a better job of blocking him up. The strong side, Kyle Van Noy, and then the off-ball linebackers in the middle, they've got Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson listed as the starters, but I believe Trenton Simpson's been benched. I don't know if Malik Harrison or Chris Board is the one that took his place, but I want to say one of those guys actually took over for him, and he's no longer starting. So look for that to be a possible different face than Trenton Simpson there. In this secondary, Marlon Humphrey and Brandon Stevens have been a pretty dynamic cornerback duo thus far in the season, with safeties Kyle Hamilton and Ardarius Washington looking drastically better than how Marcus Williams played previously earlier in the season. They've really buttoned it up since they put Kyle Hamilton in more of a free safety role, in Ardarius Washington more of the hitter role now, which they've got it listed opposite of that on their depth chart here. But that once they put that in their appropriate roles, it really, really clamped things down on the defense for them. So this defense is more talented than what we gave them credit for after beating them earlier in the year. Maybe not as good as what they looked like the second time we played them. Time to take advantage of some of the weaknesses on this team, and particularly, I think, speed. Secondary speed is an issue. Kyle Hamilton was like a 4.7 40 guy. Marlon Humphrey's been nicked off and on. These guys can be taken advantage of with speed, so it's an important thing for us to exploit in this game.
Yeah. Want to see Calvin Austin get some throws down the seam, over too high coverage, too safety high. Got to see some scheming of different passing plays in this. Got to get the tight ends involved. Got to do a lot of different things. I think the most I'm scared about with that defense is the pass rush, just for the simple fact that we're more than likely going to be forced to pass at some point in this game, and Pittsburgh needs to do a good job of helping out Daniel Moore, or Dan Moore Jr. and getting him some help on that side, because otherwise Russell Wilson's going to be sacked 6-7 times in this game, and it's not going to lead to a good time. Looking at the special teams, because they matter, Jordan Stout is the punter and the placeholder. Justin Tucker, the kicker. He's had a rough year so far. Nick Moore, the long snapper. And then kickoff return is listed as Justice Hill, with Keaton Mitchell and Rasheen Ali listed as the backups. And then Steven Sims listed as the starting punt returner. Not super scared of anything. Justice Hill on kick return can be a threat, but just got to rally him. And our special teams has done fairly decent job this year, especially with Connor Hayward getting some hits, and son of a gun, Mark Robinson getting some big hits as well. So crushing people. Yeah, these guys have been performing well on special teams. James, it is that time for our 3 keys to success, and what a time it is going to be. Do you want me to go first, or I don't know whose turn it is?
I don't either. If you want, I'll go first. I've got them prepared and ready to roll here.
Oh, I got mine. They're not fun. Go for it.
All right. Number one for me is to limit Derrick Henry. One of the biggest differences between the first time we played and the second time we played was the production from Derrick Henry. I want to see him 80 yards rushing or less. I think if you can do that, then you're going to make them one-dimensional, which will drastically help things out. Along with that, I want to see Lamar Jackson get sacked at least 4 times. The first time we played him, he barely had 50% completion by the end of the game. Really struggled, and it was because we had that constant pressure. Made him one-dimensional where they couldn't run the ball anymore, and then just got after the quarterback and just kept him on the move. He is very beatable, and the key is not letting him just sit back there and be comfortable. Like any good quarterback, he'll dissect you if you give him time. My third and final key, Score 27 plus points. No more of these 17 points, 19 points, 20 points. It's not going to be enough in the playoffs. Need to start scoring in the upper 20s, lower 30s to expect to win. So I want to see 27 plus points, and I think we can pull off a win.
I like it. I like it. Very interesting. James, I want to share a fact with you that has nothing to do with my 3 keys to success, but it's very interesting. Lamar Jackson in both of the 2 games against us threw for exactly 207 yards.
Each game?
Each game.
What was his completion percentage each game?
48.5 in the first one where they lost by 2, and then 65.2 in the 34-17 victory.
There you go.
So yeah, completion percentage.
How efficient are you? How many more times do you have to throw to get to that number? That's all huge stuff, man. That's a huge difference percentage-wise. 17-point percentage difference in that completion percentage.
Yep. Yeah, the first game was 16 of 33. The second game was 15 of 23. So
yeah,
drastically different. And that's because they coached that. They made changes. They did what they need to do. Speaking of, my first key to success, James,
and
is the offense.
Had nothing to do with 3 of our defensive starters being out. Absolutely nothing to do with that.
No, not in my opinion. You got to scheme for it. Quite frankly, we got to do the first key to success is do something different on offense. Okay. Like it's not very specific, but James, if we run the ball on the first 8 first downs again, like we did last week, I'm going to pull out hair. Okay. I'm going to have to wear a hat like yours to cover up my bald spots. I mean, it's going to be bad. I want to see more pass plays. I want to see more designed rollouts. Get Russell Wilson on the move. Allow him to extend a play a little bit. I'm tired of him having to sit in this pocket where he can't see over linemen and trying to throw the ball downfield when he can't see anybody. It's not a good time. The middle of the field is drastically not available to us, and it's frustrating to watch. Number 2, we need to stop the combination of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. And the only reason I'm saying that is because we could do what you're saying of stopping Lamar Jackson or stopping Derrick Henry, and then Lamar Jackson could go off. I feel like so many times because they're designed option plays that we could stop Derrick Henry, but if no one goes with Lamar, you got to figure that out. And so I want to see heavy commit to run. I want to see blitzes up the middle. I want to see maybe, I would love to see some sacks out of the middle linebacker crew again, because I think that we're getting some help to TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith by getting that interior pressure. The guys can't commit double teams as much to those guys. I think that's important. And then finally, James, number 3, my 3 keys to success. Number 3, you're never going to guess what it is, James.
Win the turnover battle.
It is not win the turnover battle. It is simply to control the pace of the game without trying to manage or without trying to beat them in time of possession. I don't care if it's just got to be better clock management, whether it's timeouts, whether it's getting to the line of scrimmage faster to make audibles. I'm tired of seeing us fluke and lose these games in the last seconds because of poor time management, that whether the coaching staff or Russell Wilson not throwing the ball away. I want to see us have a chance or just go out and demolish, or I don't know. I just really concerned about time management this game because it's been such a big issue. And James, if you haven't noticed, and anyone watching on YouTube, I am reminiscing from our last Super Bowl victory. It is on my TV in the background. The whole game is playing right now. So those are my 3 keys to success.
Yeah. One thing we can definitely both agree on is Pittsburgh has to put a better performance out there, or we're going to be talking about an early exit from the playoffs. In my opinion, we've got things to look forward to with 3 starters on defense being involved in this game that were not previously. And also George Pickens was out in the last matchup as well. So you've got a big difference in available talent. How well will they play? That's everything. Will these guys step up? Will they do what they're supposed to do? Will they have the communication like they did last week? If our defense plays like they did last week against the Bengals, they will not score anywhere near as many points as the Bengals did because it's a drastically better passing offense than what Baltimore is.
Yep.
So offense has to come to play.
Yep. I really hope they do. James, it's time for our score predictions. What would you like? You go first today.
You want me to go first?
I want you to go first. I already know what mine is, and it's not going to be anywhere near the same as yours.
I think this is where Pittsburgh gets back going again, and I know I've said that already, I know I've said that some of these last weeks. I'm going to choose optimism instead of pessimism, Cody. I know where you're going on this. It's going to be like 43-2, Pittsburgh losing. I am not going that route. I'm going to go a 27-24 victory. They eke it out with a field goal at the end.
Well, James, that's a great score prediction. I'm also going to keep some field goals happening, and Pittsburgh's going to put up 9 points in this game, all off of Boswell's leg. And the Ravens are going to put up 34 again on us. So 34-9, Ravens win. Pittsburgh gets embarrassed, and hopefully they learn, hey, we can't do the same stupid crap every single week, every single year, and expect different results. That's called insanity. I'm getting there.
Getting?
I am getting there. I'm really getting there. You have no idea. But with that being said, that wraps up today's show. If you guys have your 3 keys to success or your score predictions you want to share with us, please feel free to do that in the comment section on YouTube or DM us on social media. We'd love to talk about them on the next show, whether they happen to be a reason we won the game or happen to be a reason we lost. We'd love to talk about them. James, any final words?
No, man, just looking forward to it, and keep your heads up, guys. Don't start crying the second there's an incomplete pass on second down or the first time they run on first down. Give these guys a chance to win before you start crying.
I'm not crying. Not about that, at least. With that being said, that's going to wrap up today's show. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe and ring the bell. It's free. It doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.